Gina, aka Gina Marie Fit. And today, y'all, it's a big one. It's episode 10. We are officially in double-digit episodes. Just so crazy to think what was a thought and an idea is real, it is live, and we are coming to you every Tuesday talking about everything from health and fitness to mental health, toxic relationships, work environments, and more. I have a lot of plans for 2024 for the podcast, so I'm super excited to share that with y'all. But first, I just need to say thank you. Because of you, you make this possible. And we were at an event for BFT the other day, and people were referencing my podcast and they were sharing their favorite episodes. And it was just this wild moment where I was just like, that's me. Like, that's my podcast they're talking about. They're listening. And it's just the coolest, most humbling experience. And just want you to know, I don't take this for granted. I am eternally grateful that you continue to support me and in my endeavors, and you're not judging me for putting myself out there, because it's hella scary still. And just doing this every single week. It's weird talking to my computer, not knowing who is on the other side. So I just hope you know that a lot of thought and heart goes into every episode, and that today is no less. We are going to talk about something that is very personal and near and dear to my heart. It is something I have dealt with for most of my life and didn't understand it until I got to be in my 20s, that there was a name for what I was dealing with. And today we're going to talk about it. It is body dysmorphia. And I'm going to share with you what it is, what my experiences have been, and what it's like being in the fitness industry, having something like this. So I think something that all of us struggle with at some point in our life is our body image, the way we are perceived, the way we feel. And at times we're not always happy with what's depicted in front of us. And so part of that can just be physique goals, and part of that can actually be what we're going to talk about today, which is body dysmorphia and how the fitness industry plays a role in that. And so for those of you that don't know what body dysmorphia is, it is a condition in which people that suffer from it aren't able to see what other people see. They have their own perspective that is skewed about their physical state specifically, and they have an extremely negative body image. It's distorted. The view that I see is not what other people see, and that distorted view can be associated with a lot of restrictive tendencies and can lead to people having eating disorders. And so when I was learning about this, as I was struggling, I knew something wasn't right. I had an extreme obsession with not just fitness, but everything I ate, what I did, what I looked like, what I wore. It was something that I couldn't stop obsessing over. And just for me to simply get dressed or to go into a store and try on clothes, oh my gosh, it could just send you into this utter tailspin. And it was paralyzing because all I could do was see everything I didn't want to be, and I couldn't see anything positive. And so it led to some extremely difficult days, a period of my life where I really did do a disservice to my health. And for me, looking back on it, it was something that I hid so well. And now as I continue to deal with it, even at this age, I still struggle with it. I'm actually dealing with it in a really difficult manner right now because I have been down for the count for 4 months. I am slowly allowed to increase my workouts, but I am having the hardest time knowing where I was at before I was in the accident and seeing where I'm at now, and just knowing how physically I'm beyond weak, the weakest I've ever been, but just deteriorated. And then to know that because of my brain, I'm not going to still be able to do the things I want to be able to do still. And so for me, this has been really triggering. It's been extremely hard for me to go anywhere, get ready to do anything. The amount of time I have stood in front of the mirror that is literally next to my podcasting desk and just had like a breakdown. or completely change what I was wearing because I literally couldn't tolerate looking at myself in the mirror. It is something that has taken so much time to understand and to give myself grace because I am so hard on myself in general. And then when you add in this lack of physical appearance that doesn't resonate with the brand that you have built, it can be extremely difficult to continue to stomach, to work to overcome it. And so really breaking it down, a lot of people don't like the way they look. They have parts of their bodies that don't make them happy. Body dysmorphia is a completely different other level because it truly is a mental illness that has obsessive focus and tendencies on a perceived flaw in your appearance. It's, normal to have doubts, but people that have body dysmorphia limit socialization because they function differently and their quality of life is significantly affected by this perception that they have to deal with. And it can cause extreme levels of stress, and it can truly make you feel and believe that you will never be enough. And so this obsession with the physique becomes something that is associated with obsessive compulsive disorder because you're so preoccupied with your flaws that you can't see anything else. And then you really start to fall victim to these patterns and these activities and these repetitive natured tasks because you want the sense of control that necessarily doesn't exist. And so people that have body dysmorphia, when you are losing control in other areas of your life, you will kind of flip a script and start focusing more on those flaws even more, trying to grasp at the control that doesn't actually exist. And as a result of that, you can really become obsessive compulsive. What can happen as a result of this is that you can feel compelled to participate in repetitive behaviors, and you will go to great lengths to hide and change your body, which can increase your risk for mental health issues. And so a lot of ways of doing this and things that I did, I can't tell you how many times I went to a pool party or somewhere that I needed to be in a bathing suit and I just went in regular clothes, and I would make up excuses or I would come late to certain events so that I would only be participating in a certain portion of the event. And these are things I was doing when I was literally 120 pounds. And that's what's scary is I was extremely restrictive with my nutrition, obsessive with my workouts, eating 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day, excessively working out, and I could never be thin enough. I could never be fit enough. I had a 6-pack, visible abs, and it was not enough because then I would focus on my thighs touching, and then I would increase my cardio because I didn't want my thighs to touch, and then I would notice my back fat, and it was this endless cycle of obsessive tendencies, and it didn't matter how fit I was never going to be good enough. And that is what people that deal with body dysmorphia deal with every single day. And sadly, health and fitness can be something that is extremely triggering and does not have the positive outlet that it should if you don't deal with this issue. And so as a result of body dysmorphia, it usually comes from very deep anxiety. And now that I've been dealing with it more in my adult life, and I really realized that a lot of my tendencies and habits were the result of anxiety, it all makes sense why growing up in my late teens and early 20s, I was so obsessive about my body. And now I have a name and an understanding, and I can work through this because I truly feel like it's something that I will deal with for the rest of my life. And I know the tools and what I need to do, but I feel like it is something that lingers in the back of your mind. And when you are in the fitness industry, there's such an emphasis on your body and people having opinions about your physique that when they make those unsolicited comments, it can be extremely triggering to people that have eating disorders, that have body dysmorphia, or that deal with mental health issues. And so because of this, I used to limit my social interaction a lot, and anything that was form-fitting, I would always find a way to wear something that was comfortable. I just wanted to hide. And so the only real true thing you can do when dealing with this is go through therapy, specifically cognitive behavioral therapy, because you have to retrain your brain. These are obviously unhealthy thought patterns. They are not normal. And it's something that continually plays on a loop in your head until you learn how to reframe your thoughts. And so you may ask, like, where did this come from? And a lot of it comes from images depicted on TV, on social media, in movies, because when I was researching facts about body dysmorphia and the fitness industry, I learned that 94% of women that used to be depicted on television for my age group were thinner than the average female. And so from a young age, you had this inherent belief that to be pretty and to have value and to be worthy, you had to be thin, and excessively thin at that. And so I grew up with that belief system, and I lived that life for an extremely long time. And I remember true hunger at times because I would be so restrictive with my nutrition. And because I truly put myself in this box of a weight that I had to maintain, and I would do anything it took to maintain that weight because it's the only thing that made me feel like I had control when it came to my body. And so this doesn't just affect females, it actually affects males. And for males, a lot of males deal with muscle dysmorphia. And so for men, it's about weightlifting. They feel like their musculature is small, and it's correlated with their body image, like body dysmorphia is. And so they also struggle with social anxiety. They have an impaired self-esteem. They use avoidance behaviors at social events because of their perception that they are dealing with. And so they also don't feel like they're going to ever be strong enough or big enough or have defined enough muscles. And so they will go to great lengths to achieve these results, and they can be unsafe habits and tendencies that they utilize to achieve this unrealistic perspective. And so this happens a lot because people that deal with body dysmorphia and muscle dysmorphia, the relationship between their weight and their body image is truly unwell. It does not correlate. They are not related in the brain. You may think like, oh, that person's in such great shape, like she looks amazing. And then that person goes home and all they're doing is picking at themselves because they notice the flaws. They can't embrace what they are. They can't give themselves compliments. They can't take compliments. For people with body dysmorphia, a normal healthy weight range can be perceived to them as overweight. And this is what I dealt with in my young 20s in college when I was 120 pounds and working out multiple times a day. And then I was still playing soccer at the time in college. And so to me, I had this extremely distorted image in my head, and I was a healthy, solid weight, but I truly thought I was overweight. And now I wish I could go back to that person and be that level of healthy and strong. It's crazy when you think you're overweight and then you do become overweight if you're having health issues. Or for me, I've been down for the count the last 4 months. You strive to want to be that previous version of yourself, and it makes you realize just how skewed your perception can be. Where this really takes a turn, and I mean no disrespect when I talk about this because I'm obviously on social media. Having an online health and fitness business, you have to be on social media. But social media plays a very big part in body dysmorphia and muscle dysmorphia and why this has become so rampant. And so when the Fitspo movement, as they call it, it was intended to motivate others to pursue a healthier lifestyle. And so what started to happen as these influencers were taking over social media is that they should have been promoting body diversity and positivity. And instead, you were seeing a significant perception and overly crafted aesthetic of the same thing: thin, lean, underweight. And they were getting this incredible engagement, but it was just continuing to elicit the same narrative that in order to be of value, you had to fit in this small box. And you would see a lot of like sexualized pictures of women with males and male models. Their faces always had to be in their photos. They were always shirtless. They just continued to give life to this narrative. And so what can happen is if you do engage in social media, it can be extremely triggering, and it can be detrimental to your mental health. And so something that's really important is knowing who to follow on social media and how to go about that. And so I'm going to break down some things that I think are important when you're choosing who to follow on social media, especially if social media is toxic for you, because it doesn't have to be toxic. You just have to learn the right people to follow. And then we will transition and really put the two together, how muscle and body dysmorphia, when combined with the fitness industry, what that can mean. Because there really is a dark side to social media, and you can see it very prevalent in the fitness industry specifically. And so when you're trying to figure out who's reliable and worthy of following, the first thing I think that's most important is that you find people that are qualified and have the credentials to back up their following. And so you want to seek out people who have relevant qualifications that align with the subject matter they're speaking on, that they have a professional background, and that their certifications are valid. And here's my disclaimer and pet peeve and a little bit of a soapbox is the problem with online personal training programs is simply that anybody can get one, which is great. However, just because you are certified doesn't mean you should be teaching classes, nor does it mean you should be taking on clients. You having that personal training certification is the bare minimum. That was just enough to pass the test. It really takes significant time to develop enough adherence, information, and experience to allow you to charge people to follow you and complete your programs. And so it's the one thing that bothers me is that anybody can get their personal training certification. It doesn't mean that you're of value or that you should be hired in an environment where you are going to be influencing other people if your knowledge and expertise is not accurate and you don't provide safe recommendations. The second thing, and this is again factual information, but also a tangent with me, is that you need to find people that share a balanced approach. This can be easily skewed as a subjective matter, meaning people will share what they find as balance, quote unquote, and they will share their training styles. When I mean balanced approach, I mean to find influencers or personal trainers that emphasize the importance of practicing self-care, addressing their mental well-being, addressing their physical health, and listening to your body. It's so important to take rest days, to implement mobility and recovery, because what people don't realize is when you're working out as intense as some people do, and you don't elicit recovery and rest, you're just predisposing yourself to have injuries, which can truly bite you in the butt, honestly. And so when you're trying to find somebody that has a balanced approach, people can get very preachy in this topic. And so you want to find people that know how to incorporate proper exercise progressions, have a healthy outlook on nutrition, are consistent, and that they know that the information they're putting out can trigger people. And so you really need to get to know your clients and the people buying your programs, especially if you're doing one-on-one personal training. It is not a one-size-fits-all approach. And so you have to make sure that those people you are taking information from are consistent, that their methods are well researched, and that they have a foundational approach that is based off of consistency, effort, determination, and that it aligns with each person you're working with. And that means you have to get to know your client on an internal basis as well as not only their physical goals. You have to know what drives them, what they've been through, what their medical conditions are, what medications they take, what's their lifestyle like. Is the program that you're prescribing to them even something that's going to work with their lifestyle? You don't want to set somebody up with an extremely stressful life, a high overachiever performer person with the program that they can't make time for, and then you just send them into a tailspin. You really need to get to know the person that you're choosing to work with, and they should reciprocate that energy and get to know you. Third thing, and this is something that I feel like is super important, it's the premise of my podcast, is finding people who are authentic. who are honest and who are real. And I don't mean real for social media to put on a front. I mean people that are willing to be open about their struggles, share their setbacks, share things they've gone through. You want to seek out people who are willing to share those struggles and what they've been through, while also sharing their achievements and how they work through things. A lot of the clients I deal with, I always say I bring a mind, body, soul approach to health and fitness instead of just workouts and macros, because most of my clients I work with, it's not that they can't adhere to a program. It's that they have other factors in their life and in their head that affect them. And when those factors take over, it doesn't matter how consistent they are, how well they meal prepped, or if they have the best workout plan in the world. Once your mind takes over, there's no turning back unless you address those issues. And so you really want to find people who are transparent about their journeys, who will give you realistic and relatable goals, and who will understand that progress is not linear. It's possible, but it's not always going to be something where you're consistently crushing it every single day. It's going to ebb and flow, just like life will. And you need to find a coach, a personal trainer, or an influencer that can showcase all sides of health and fitness, because there obviously is a mental health component to it. Another one that I feel like is a really hot topic, and if you follow the Buff Bunny collection, is something that I'm seeing a lot of heat they're getting for right now, and it's accounts who are inclusive and body positive. Now, I know that some people feel like being body positive also encourages unhealthy behaviors and lifestyles. And I really, 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 really need you to hear me if you're on social media. If you go to the Buff Bunny collection, the recent video that they had showcased, and the images from their recent campaign, they have always been inclusive, naturally inclusive as a company. It's why I support them, because their marketing truly showcases the buyer. They represent all walks of life, all types of race, ethnicity, sexual orientation. They don't discriminate, and it's so inspiring because they didn't do it when it was trendy. They've always done it. And so I was reading these comments the other day about one of their models, and they were just horrendous comments. It made me sick to my stomach to know that females, other women, thought it was totally okay to make comments like that about a stranger's body. My blood was boiling reading those comments, because that person, you don't know anything about their journey. You don't know what they've been through, what medical conditions they could have. You have nothing. You know nothing about what that person has gone through. And there's these people on the internet leaving these horrid comments. And all I could think was, when I was at my low point last year, and I was going through a lot of drama at work, a lot of things being said about me, I can't even tell you, it truly took everything inside of me to keep going and to keep overcoming so much every single day. And all I thought about is this poor girl is getting her body just freaking annihilated on the internet. And all I could think was, if this poor girl isn't in a good space, what is she thinking right now? And I just pray to God that she doesn't allow other people's opinions to affect her, because these comments were disgraceful. And so being inclusive and body positive means that we support people no matter what phase of their journey they are on. There is no ideal one size fits all way that people should look. If we were all supposed to look the same way, be the same skin color, have the same eye color, we would have been made that way. Diversity is such a beautiful thing, and we have to stop promoting unrealistic standards in the fitness industry, and that starts with those of us in the fitness industry. And so a diverse range of body types and fitness levels should always be celebrated and welcomed. And let me tell you, as a senior coach for BFT Tampa, we are setting the tone for our studio, and you best believe there will be no discrimination, no body shaming. You're going to be welcomed as you are when you walk in that door every single day. You're going to give us goals. We're going to help you achieve them, but in no way, shape, or form will you feel as if we are pressuring you to be different than you are or different than you want to come. And so we will be representing our members, and our aesthetic is going to represent that. It's not going to be filtered. It's not going to be fake. It's not going to be a bunch of fitness models. It's going to represent our members, because there's nothing better than learning and teaching people self-acceptance, self-love, teaching people how to celebrate the process and celebrate all of the wins that you will have as you progress through your health and fitness journey, because that is what's going to be the catalyst that enables you to accelerate and change your life. And if you go into an environment where you don't feel welcomed in your own skin, it's just going to deter you from progressing. And it could even hinder or stop people from returning. And so when I say everybody is welcome and I'm an inclusive person, best believe I will never be the type that's going to denounce you for the way you look. It's crazy to me that it still exists in 2024 and there is so much hate in people's heart and on the internet. Lastly, and this is more of like a healthcare disclaimer, the healthcare worker in me is coming out. Before you follow, do anything, participate in any type of program, and if it's something that you're concerned about, you really should consult your doctor, your healthcare provider, and the person that you are going to invest your hard-earned money with after you have truly verified that they're of value. You're going to have to disclose a lot of information about yourself. So you want to make sure that you're ready to be participating in an elevated experience, changing your workout style, changing your nutrition, and then making sure that you're in the right mental space to go through the ups and downs that come with progressing in a health and fitness journey. Now, we've addressed the basis of body dysmorphia and muscle dysmorphia. We've talked about how social media plays a role. Now we're going to transition into how it affects me and you if you're a personal trainer listening to this, or you're somebody that wants to become a personal trainer. And so being a personal trainer comes with an insane amount of pressure that we put on ourselves and pressure we get from other people to look a certain way. Please understand that good personal trainers don't just have six packs and biceps. Like, the fact that people put us into a box and that we have to look a certain way to seem qualified is really doing a disservice to a significant amount of people. Individually, fitness professionals, they should vary widely in where they fall in terms of the body image spectrum. And so it can vary because there can be a lot of dissatisfaction to people's self-perception because people put the pressure on trainers to look and feel a certain way. And so the industry has a serious problem. And I witnessed this myself in Tampa. And it's really sad to me that I witnessed this twice. But sadly, when you work at a gym, some gyms will feel that they have to meet a certain aesthetic, especially in Tampa. It's really hard because there's a typical appearance in Tampa that is definitely widely accepted. And so twice I witnessed this where people that met the qualifications for a job were not going to be given their job in the fitness industry because of the way they looked. And it was so disheartening to me to hear the conversation second nature. Somebody told me what happened, and to know that here's this person that's trying to obtain this job and they're, actively participating and promoting the brand, and they've been a patron of the company, and to know that they were not considered worthy, not because of their skill set, but because of the way they looked. And it just made me really sad to think that that is the perception of people at gyms, that the whole staff should look a certain way to be considered worthy of employment there. And the second time it happened, it was for a fitness role and instead of a support staff role. And so when I was learning about this, I didn't even have words. And it wasn't my place to tell the person because I was being told by their friend what was said about them. But it just made me really uncomfortable. One, that a company thought that that was acceptable behavior, that you felt that your trainers should all look a certain way and fit into a certain box. And two, that these people's close friends were letting this person celebrate this company, celebrate this gym that didn't even want them because of the way they looked. And it just made me really sad for that person because it's such a hard position to be in. Because do you really want to tell that person and break their spirit? Of course not. But also, do you want to let your friend be supportive of an environment that's not supportive of who they are? It's just the part of the fitness industry that really still gets to me, because body shaming is real. And if you don't fit the mold, you may succumb to unnecessary and unhealthy behaviors to fit into that mold. And so this is why I emphasize qualifications. It's one thing if you don't want to hire somebody because they're not qualified, especially at the new gym I'm at. We need elevated experience coaches to really match the model that we're bringing. And so novice personal trainers, those are things that aren't going to be able to be hired in the beginning, because you really have to be able to stand on your own and have the knowledge base. And it's not just the knowledge base of somebody that works out, but that truly has trained people and can properly progress and regress people. And so it's one thing not to want to hire somebody because they don't meet the qualifications, but to solely base somebody's hiring on the way they look. It's just a narrative that I don't want to see in the fitness industry anymore. And it's why I'm speaking up on it today. Something that you can notice, especially as a personal trainer or being a personal trainer, is that the physique calling card, the whole walk the walk, that means that you live a healthy, balanced lifestyle. And so it does not mean that the leaner you are, the better you are as a personal trainer, the more amazing your body is, the better qualified you are. The things that we have to teach ourselves are the things that we have to teach our clients. And so if we aren't walking the walk and living a healthy, balanced lifestyle without restrictive tendencies, we can start to project those feelings and thought patterns onto our clients. And so if we have poor self-esteem and tendencies and we are struggling, that can manifest in our energy and people can feel that. And so your physique doesn't equal your qualifications. It's the hours you put in, the work, the time, the effort. That is what makes you qualified to be a personal trainer, not your waist size, your shape, or how you appear to the external people judging you. It's all about what you bring to the table, because you're going to be the game changer kind of person that will freaking change people's lives because you have a story, because you're qualified, you've done the work, and you continue to put in the time and grow as a personal trainer. Being a personal trainer and dealing with body image issues is something you're going to see a lot with your clients. And so if you do have a client that struggles with body dysmorphia, muscle dysmorphia, or just negative self-image, it's really important that you are informed and educated on these topics, and that you encourage people to seek the kind of help they need if you start to notice any red flags. You really want to encourage healthy practices, have a positive impact on your clients' lives. And that is going to happen through building real relationships, not being fake, not being surface level, not being nice just because they're in your studio and you want their money. You really want to get to know your members and communicate to them that you integrate body image and a healthy mindset together. So you really give them the foundation as their body changes and they transform to continue to make the kind of progress that they are seeking. Whether you're in the gym as a member or you're a personal trainer, things to be mindful of are your body language and what you say. Using terms like getting ripped, slimming down, toning up, eradicating your problem areas, destroying your fat. You're telling that person that their body is a problem. You're already reiterating the narrative they're telling themselves. And so it's really important that you're mindful of your body language and the rhetoric you use when talking to your friends, talking to your clients, when you're in the gym, because we can be doing a disservice to our own friends, even if you're not a personal trainer. The second thing is to really make sure that you advocate for body diversity in your marketing if you're a personal trainer, or if you're a participant at a studio. You really don't want to become that person that claims to be inclusive and then you continue to underrepresent the diverse population that you work with or that you support at your studio. And so you want to make sure you're advocating that you're featuring all types of races, abilities, age, history, That is what creates a solid community, and that is what truly transforms people's lives, is when you know them on a soul deep level, and then you help them get to where they want to go, and you don't try to change who they are in the process. Really important to make sure that you're focusing on all aspects of their journey and make sure that that environment they're in is a good psychological fit, because so much of this is deeper than appearance. And when you emphasize the entire environment, the entire lifestyle, the person as a whole, embrace their worth, you can really help them establish realistic behaviors, belief systems that will enable them to continue to progress through these moments where they struggle, and they can officially overcome them and be proud of the entire process. And so that comes from not setting unrealistic expectations or standards on your members, on your friends, on the people in your life. This can actually resonate with your relationships. And so you really want to realize that people hear you. They can overhear you, even if you don't want them to hear what you're saying. And so just be mindful that when you are in the health and fitness space, that your words have meaning and they have depth. And the things you say about people can affect them in an extremely negative manner. And God forbid you come across somebody like me with body dysmorphia, and here you are making fun of them. You don't know what that person's going to do with those words. And so your opinions are just that. Your opinions are not life. They are not God. They are not fact. So be mindful as you are coming across people, or you are very opinionated about people on the internet, that those feelings and your opinions eventually get back to people, and you could really harm somebody in the process. And sadly, most of the time when people are hating on the internet, it's because they're unhappy with their own lives, and then they project their feelings onto others instead of just doing the work to work on themselves. And that's just a sad reality of society. As you can tell, I get so hyped talking about this because I've dealt with this for so long, and I've been in the fitness industry in so many different realms and avenues. And so I really see this from so many different sides and angles, which is why, like every other podcast, there's always going to be a positive life lesson, tangible tip for each topic we talk about. And so the way I want to end today's podcast is, whether you have body dysmorphia or muscle dysmorphia, or you have a friend who is struggling with their self-image, or you come across a client, what's really important is that you yourself, or you teach them and help them to focus on what they do love about themselves. And I know that can sound so cheesy and cliche, but if that person can't find anything, then that should be a red flag for you that they need to get help. It's really important that you don't gaslight people or overly hype them up. This is where toxic positivity can come into play. You just want to help them help themselves, or you help yourself to focus on the things you do like about yourself. Because of this, when you're going through this healing process and you're working through this, I highly encourage that you limit social media. If anybody triggers you, or you find yourself falling victim to the comparison game, it's not that person's fault. It's just what's triggering you. And sometimes you just need to mute or unfollow somebody as you are working through yourself. Another thing that's really helpful is that you change the way you speak about yourself. And this is woo-woo, but it's true. You are your thoughts, your subconscious thoughts and your conscious thoughts. As you continue to say negative things, you will realize that they manifest in your body, and you are continuing to give them life. So you really want to retrain your brain and relearn those thought patterns and processes so that you can actually heal. And that if you do have a setback, especially like I've been experiencing, I've had to remind myself, Gina, this too shall pass. This is just a situation. This is not who you are. This is not your life. This is just the chapter you are in. And sometimes you have to remind yourself, especially when you're re-triggered about things that you feel like you have healed from. Healing means continued growth. We're never going to be perfect. We're always going to be human beings that should continue to grow, because if you're not growing, you're dying. And so you really want to realize that you have to let go of perfection. unrealistic standards and pressure, because you shouldn't just be striving to look a certain way. You should be striving to feel a certain way. And I mean empowered, inspired, motivated, even though I really can't stand that word. You should be truly pursuing a feeling, not an image reflected in a mirror as your sole purpose of your self-worth. So, moving forward, if you are somebody that is in a negative headspace and you need somebody to help you retrain your brain, rewrite the thought patterns and processes in your head, or give you some straight real talk, I will always be available, because I still struggle with this, and I really thought by this phase in my life I would be over it. But it just goes to show you how your previous thought patterns, relationships, setbacks, failures, it really can manifest again in your life until you properly heal and deal with it. So please give yourself grace, especially if you are somebody that personally knows this reality. You know just how delicate this can be and how hard this can be. And so don't allow the social isolation and tendencies and behaviors that come with body dysmorphia keep you from being around the people that you know, love, and support you. We can really be our worst enemy when dealing with mental health issues. Don't allow those thought patterns to cloud your judgment and to regress yourself. If you're struggling, reach out to your therapist, your doctor, or somebody you trust and seek out the help you need, because we both know we deserve better and we are our own worst critics sometimes. It's sad, but it's true. All right, y'all. I hope this episode was helpful. I hope it was informative, and I hope it helps you moving forward to judge people less and to listen more. And maybe when faced the next time that you do think you're going to judge somebody, maybe you turn that into some self-reflection and ask yourself why you feel so quick to judge others, especially people who are doing the absolute most. All right, y'all, stay tuned, and I'll chat with you soon.